The secretary to the NDC manifesto committee, Nana Oye Bampoe Addo. You're welcome to Face
Thank
to Face.
you, Umaru.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. You did very well.
I tried, huh?
Yeah, you tried. You did very well.
It's my job. That's where my salary comes from,
Yes.
so I have to do it well.
Great.
How have you been, though? You've been out of government 4 years.
Yes.
Are you bored?
No, at all. You know, there's been so much to do. I'm a lecturer.
Okay. Oh, you teach
yes,
where?
I teach at the Lancaster University.
Okay. What do you teach?
East Legon, human rights.
Okay. Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yes, human rights and African Union law.
I
teach at the Lancaster University, and coming up with a people's manifesto has been a lot of work. It's been an 8 months
Exercise.
Yes,
Wow.
exercise.
Wow.
So that took quite a lot of time.
I'll ask you to break down for me what you've been doing, but how has it been for you moving from advocacy, which you were doing previously,
Yes.
to becoming a politician, serving for 4 years as a minister, and then going back? How easy or difficult was it for you to move from advocacy to politics?
It wasn't. It was challenging. There were some challenging aspects, and there were some aspects that it was the same. I mean, it was just like advocacy. Like if I needed resources for the ministry and for the programs, I still used the advocacy skills. If I was speaking, I still used the advocacy skills. But then there were some the bureaucracy, you know, because I had to get used to working with bureaucracy, there being a process, because working in NGO is quite fluid. You know, you don't know what's happening. You wake up in the morning and a woman has been lynched, and that is your day.
You have to take it up.
You have to take it up. You wake up and a girl has been snatched and she's undergoing child marriage, and so you may spend your whole day at DOFSU, and that's your day. But the ministry and government is more structured. So I had to learn, you know, like from private, private, not even private sector, civil society straight into a bureaucratic environment. So I had to learn the processes, and managing not more than 10, 15 people to now managing 1,000+ people.
Not only in Accra, but
not only in Accra,
country.
but across the country. So those were some of the, you know, I had to learn, but I learned fast.
How easy was it for you to learn, though? Because as an advocate, you're almost always attacking government. Now you have moved to become the government who is being attacked.
Yes.
With hindsight, or with the information you have now, or the experience you have now as a politician, do you think advocacy groups are too hard on governments sometimes?
At all. And I think they should. They should even be harder. We really need to hold.
That you have to go through bureaucracies and all of these things in government.
You have to go through bureaucracy, but there is the base: principles, values, integrity, excellence. Integrity, excellence, trust. Trust because the people have placed their trust in you. You need to understand that you are a servant. You are working for people in the interest of people. You have a blueprint, you have the constitution, you have the various programs and the strategy documents. So you are applying yourself to ensure that you get results from whatever program, work program, whatever strategy, whatever law. So you are there to do that. And so it's not, and the civil society play a critical role in ensuring that they hold governments accountable. So it's actually very welcome. So as a public officer, as a minister, I welcomed that, because sometimes you may not get the whole perspective, you may not get the whole picture, and you may not be everywhere at all times. So civil society, community-based organizations are able to give you the perspective. So I'll give the example of LEAP. We give this money to indigents and the less fortunate. But what is the impact? What does that old woman in Bukom, that old woman in Kose, what do they actually need? When do they need that money? So that's where you get community-based organizations and civil society groups being able to give you that input to make your delivery and your program better.
Okay.
Because you are serving and you need to make that program better.
But you see, the reason I ask this question, for instance, let's take the Kafaba killing. As a civil society organization, you would have been on the grounds and you're shouting, granting media interviews, saying that you want action. But as a minister, you first need a brief from the social welfare director for, say, that district or municipality. You may need a police report. By the time you issue a statement, it will take you 2 or 3 days, which is what your successor did. Now, knowing what happens in government and knowing how civil society organizations are always on the cases of office or duty bearers, would you say that taking 2 or 3 days to ensure everything is correct before coming out is still allowable?
You have to ensure everything is correct, but you can ensure everything is correct within 3 hours, 4 hours, depending on you and depending on the system. And you should know that in that position, you are on duty 24 hours, in fact, 25 hours a day. So, for instance, if, I don't know the full facts, but if, like, I heard that a woman has been lynched, I would call the social welfare. I would get the district social welfare officer. Not only that, I'll get the police, because at the district level, we have police officers. At the district level, we have Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice officers. At the district level, we have the social welfare officers. So within a short time, within less than a day or two, you are able to get the facts. You are able to get the facts and get the Public Affairs Directorate to issue a statement and quickly put together a team to look at it and critically take certain decisions that they will implement. So that is what the leadership is all about. Being able to act timeously to address problems, issues, and challenges. That is the mettle of leadership. That's what leadership is all about. So when you're in the office and there's a problem, and I said, no. Your test as a leader is your ability to address a problem and find a solution for those who are suffering from the problem. So, I mean, 3 days is no excuse. It shouldn't take that long to be able to do a situational analysis and to dating, and then in a day or so, you can come up with, okay, this is the action we're going to take, and give periodic reports.
So the issue of the ministry itself, you left the ministry, I'm sure you've been watching from afar what has been happening. What do you make of your successor? How has she been doing? Well,
you know, there's a program, there's a program of work, and you have to, you just have to apply and make sure that is implemented. I was worried and concerned about the COVID lockdown period and the way the food was disbursed.
Tell me what challenges you had with the disbursement of the food.
The challenges, the fact that the objective, to my understanding, was to be able to cater for vulnerable, old people, sick persons, persons with disability, and persons who could not afford to feed themselves because of the lockdown. The method for distributing the food was very, very poor. The quality of the food was also poor, because it didn't take into consideration the peculiarities or the needs. It didn't seem like it was well thought out, and the needs of the beneficiaries, the needs of those who were getting the food was taken into consideration. It could be for all persons. Some have some are diabetic, some have hypertension, some may have dietary issues like, sugar, salt, and all that. So it would have been better for that money that was used by the MPP government, for them to have actually bought dry rations, rice, beans, rice for carbohydrates, beans for protein, maize, and all that, and let the people cook the food themselves.
But these are people who live on the street. They carry at Dakuma and sleep in the fuel station. Where would they cook?
So now that there's lockdown, how are they eating?
They buy food.
Yeah, but they also cook food. Or why not give them money? Why not give them, if they are buying
but at the
food?
time, there were no vendors.
There were vendors.
There was a lockdown.
No, there were vendors in the communities. They were still allowed. If you recall, the markets were even open.
Yeah, food.
So why not? I mean, we could have used the Momo or eSwitch or whatever to actually give people, send people money.
But you at the ministry, was that
food.
a platform you left behind
Yes,
to be used by?
yes, the platform I left behind were under
Momo platform?
NDC. It was the eSwitch.
Okay.
We first started with MTN and other options, and then we settled on the eSwitch.
Targeted at who?
Targeted at the LEAP beneficiaries.
So do you classify KYAs as LEAP beneficiaries?
No, the KYA, unless they qualify and they are taken onto the LEAP. Ideally, they should, but some of them earn money because we have a criteria, and you have to either a person with disability, pregnant now for the northern part of Ghana, Upper East and parts of the northern region. If you are pregnant or you have a child under 2 years, you also qualify, because we realized that there were nutrition issues. There were nutrition issues, so because some of the children were dying, infant mortality and all that, we realized that if you are able to support the mother and she has some money, then she can also buy food and feed her children. So putting them on LEAP would also reduce infant mortality. And also, you know, sometimes because of some iodine deficiencies and all that, the children are not able to develop, you know, like brain and all that. So at least give them that standard amount of money so that at least they can feed these kids.
The process that was deployed by the ministry,
yes,
where they served cooked food,
yes,
do you think it will be a challenge when it comes to accountability?
Oh, it will definitely be a challenge, because we saw what happened. And the thing is that those who actually needed it did not get it, because it was rather survival. It was a survival of the fittest. So if you could run, if you could grab, if you could jump, then you could get hold of the pack of food. And even in the process, some of the food got destroyed. So the whole objective was lost. So if the MPP government set out to assist and support vulnerable persons who were in a difficult situation during lockdown, they rather exacerbated and rather worsened the situation, because those vulnerable people did not get the needed support.
The issue about the cooked food hasn't gone away yet. The president has instructed for GHS students who are writing the BEC to be fed, and now GHS2 students who are coming back would also be given hot meals a day. You think there's a problem with that policy? With
that policy, they are in a setting, you know, they are in the school setting. You know, it's being supervised by Education Service. You have principals of the school. You have teachers. I don't know whether in all the schools they have, we had a school nurse. So like there's some amount. So that one is more controlled. So that may not be as bad as, you know, but even with that, you still need to have the safety, food and hygiene protocols adhered to.
You served as a minister for 4 years in charge of gender, social protection, and equity children. Was key, children.
Yes.
We still have children at traffic intersections. Chances are that they sleep there. Would you agree that your ministry over the years and you as a person have failed us, because we still have the problems that you were created to solve?
We did not fail. The NDC did not fail.
We still have 3 children.
Yes, because what has happened over the period of time. We have tens of thousands. If you look at the demographics, we have tens of thousands of young persons. Because when you assess the educational cycle, after JSS, if you are not able to go into SHS, what happens to you? And that's why this manifesto is looking at free TVET. This manifesto is looking at free private SHS in addition to what exists. And that's why this manifesto is looking at a better education, a better SHS that will capture more people, that will ensure that there's more space, there are more facilities.
We'll launch into the manifesto more, but I just want to have an understanding of what the general policy of removing people from the streets has been. and how this has been implemented?
I don't know for MPP what their mechanisms are. What our strategy was as NDC under President John Dramani Mahama was to work with the social services, make social services in charge. And social services would get the children and would actually do a social inquiry report and then find out whether their parents can be traced, whether they've dropped out of school and all that. So we even had a program where we had about, 50 to 100 children off the streets and back into school around the Opebia House, that intersection and different places. So there was a whole program for that. And they would be screened, would find out where their parents are, they would trace. If it's not possible for the parents to look after them, they could go into homes and they could go with relatives. But the social inquiry report was helpful. And we made sure that they went to school. So it was a whole program, but unfortunately...
F-cube means education at the basic level is compulsory.
Yes.
Yet we see children who don't go to school. If a child is not going to school, shouldn't the parents be arrested?
No, the parents should not be arrested. An assessment needs to be made first. An assessment needs to be made. And then when the assessment is made, if the child has never been to school, then the child is made to start going to school. If the child has dropped out of school, then then the child has to be readmitted into school. So there's a need to find out what the problem is. But then the parents should be held responsible, but not actually just going to pick up and arrest. It may warrant that. Okay. But then the first would be to conduct an assessment to really find out what the problem is and make sure that the child is taken into care. So social welfare takes the child into care, secures the child's safety, secures the child's mental, physical, and the well-being, and then does an assessment. How come that child is on the street? What has happened? Maybe the parents have died and all that. So when social welfare does that assessment, then they make recommendations. So if the parent has to be penalized or whatever, we have the family tribunals under the court system that will deal with that. And even under the district assembly, we have child panels. So even at the district assembly level, the child panels can also take over and actually address the situation.
On the issue of child marriage too, have you had it difficult dealing with it, considering that a lot of them are cultural issues? Did you find it as a conflict between the law and culture, and how easy has it been or difficult has it been?
Well, in fact, that's been one of the NDC government's major achievements, because if you recall, the NDC government under John Dramani Mahama came up with a child marriage strategic plan. And that had never happened. So
where it was supposed to be what?
A child marriage strategic plan, that this is what we're going to do in Ghana to reduce child marriage.
Not promote it. So it's not like you're going to allow for people to get married as children, but
that this is what we're going, that the law says that if you're not 18 years, you cannot get married. But where I think 1 in 6 have actually married and all. I can't remember the age, like older women, 1 in 6 were married below 18 years. So the issue was that we need to, how do we address? And actually the rural urban migration, that was one of the push factors, that there were girls who were actually running, fleeing and running, running down south to avoid child marriage. So then there was a need to look at that. And so what the NDC government came up with, that was in 2016, was a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan to address and reduce child marriages.
This is Face to Face on Citi TV. My guest is Secretary to the Manifesto Committee, of the National Democratic Congress. We've actually been talking about her ministry, which she served, and her advocacy. We'll come back and talk more about what is in the manifesto and why she thinks that the NDC's manifesto is better.
Remember, maybe I'm a chain, and Leguma Noyan, Simus me fed the Majumia. You may hand a mini invitation there, Guinness full by program do work your puss. Now your prayer was winning Bomerba. Now, you told me, young with the Epton son, another Eptona, work products and Cotia. 3 months to be a water, what about blow. 1 month to be a show was what the batch. I will see to me, young air, the mother of Bubble. 1 month no shino, or yeah, August, Minya, Guinness, ne origin, 19 crates. Auto debut, Minya 14 crates. Third one, Minya television. Fourth one, Minya mobile money. Fifth one, Massanage mobile money. Into when you woman a day, I Jimmy Pa, Mamma Munjai, when you woman. Seven or so ben, wild bomb. Almost says, I'm a marketing as an apple soon. Because not even in a marketing or yes, so on ball into our waist and so. When you're today, what Babaha, no, I wash a board now. When you boom and son, I quantum.
Election 2020, Ghana makes a choice. Tracking and bringing reports of the presidential and parliamentary campaigns across the length and breadth of this nation.
Analyzing campaign activities and election data with our panelists on the Voters' Diary.
The Voters' Diary is the most factual, instructive, and balanced election 2020 analysis program on television.
The Voters' Diary every weekday on Citi Tube from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Stay informed on all the relevant issues on election 2020.
Tune into the Voters' Diary, it's Ghana's choice.
You're welcome back to Face to Face on Citi TV. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadu. My guest is Nana Oye Bampoe Addo. She's the Secretary to the Manifesto Committee of the National Democratic Congress. Jobs and prosperity for all, the People's Manifesto. Tell me about it.
Jobs and prosperity for all Ghanaians and all people living in Ghana. This is a People's Manifesto. As a social democratic party, the supreme interest of the people of Ghana is our paramount priority. And so last year, we commenced a journey to find out from the people of Ghana. We are coming to campaign to seek your mandate for a 4-year term from January 2021. As a government, what would you want us to do in terms of addressing an economy that is broken, in terms of addressing high levels of corruption, in terms of addressing state capture, in terms of addressing a deficit in infrastructure, and in terms of addressing good governance, in terms of rebuilding our governance systems, in terms of instilling integrity into the security services.
So these were 21 of you?
21 of us.
So how did you do it? Did you have to,
more than 21 of us.
Did you have to divide yourselves into groups and go to areas? Tell me about your work as a committee.
Well, in terms of the process, we were given a mandate by the party and by our flag bearer. And so the party has standing committees according to the constitution of the NDC.
Okay.
Health, education, governance, agriculture, economy, and several others. So these committees now came up with reports on their thematic areas. There also was a public call by NDC for memoranda on various topics. Whatever was on your chest, whatever you wanted to discuss, submit memoranda. At the party level also, the regional chairmen and executives of the party were tasked to also come up with region-specific manifestos. So Ashanti region came up with one, Volta region came, Western region.
So this was on what they want in their regions.
What they want. So looking at the circumstances, looking at the context, looking at the economic, social, cultural, human development situation in Greater Accra. What should be in the manifesto? So all this was collated. Then you had interest groups, you had civil society groups. So we met with persons with disability, we met with governance, like we met with CDD. CDD actually had a program on the manifesto. We met with several groups, we met with certain gender groups. There was actually a group, the Northern region have a think tank, and their focus was on prioritizing an agenda for developing the Northern region.
Okay.
So they also came up with a report that this is what we would like to see in your manifesto. These are the issues in the Northern region, and these are the recommendations that we are bringing to you for your kind attention.
Okay.
So across we had several, and we set a period for this to be submitted.
For the information to come.
For the information to come, and then we reviewed all of it.
So you didn't have to, as a team, decide that, okay, let's get on board a bus and tour Ghana and hear from people. That's not what
we
you did.
did that.
You
if
did that,
you remember, President John Dramani Mahama, our flag bearer, actually did a speak out. So if you look in, you'd see pictures of the speak out tour. I don't know whether the camera can catch it.
No, we can deal with that later.
Yeah, okay,
you look through
okay.
it. Yeah, you feel free to flip through.
No. So we actually had the speaker. He had the speak out. So members of the manifesto committee were on the speak out tour. Unfortunately, COVID came, and then once the lockdown, so it had to stop. So at the speak out tour, we collated the views and everything, and we have a report.
What about the Kwesi Botwe report? Did it find space in this?
No, the Kwesi Botwe report did not find. That dealt with party.
Okay.
That dealt with party elections and how elections should be conducted, and observations on what occurred in 2016.
Did the 2016 manifesto, the defeated manifesto, find any space at all in this new manifesto?
Yes. We had to review the manifesto, find out the 2016 manifesto, find out exactly what we had said there as against what we intend to say. So we did, and not only the 2016, we also looked at our previous manifestos also.
Why would you add a manifesto that was defeated at the polls by 1 million votes into a new manifesto that they are hoping will give you?
It wasn't the manifesto that was defeated. The people of Ghana decided that they would try the MPP, and I'm sure by now they have deeply regretted, and they have welcomed our too.
Really?
They have welcomed the NDC 2020 manifesto together with our flag bearer. They have welcomed the John and Jane ticket and are eagerly waiting for December 7th to...
A manifesto that was not even welcomed by your own founder, who was not at your event last night?
We met with the founder, and he's actually here.
Oh, in photo, that one you can always pull it from anywhere.
No.
He's a Wole Soyinka
no.
look.
Yeah.
That one you can get it from anywhere.
No. He actually approved and authorized for this. We
met him.
We met
as
him.
A committee.
The manifesto committee met him. Yes.
When? Do you remember?
This was last week.
Okay.
Yes,
so
we
we
met
presented
him.
this document.
We presented.
He looked through. Or you gave him an idea?
We gave him. No, we actually gave not this because it was still being. Yeah, so we actually gave him. He even requested for the memoranda. He wanted to have a look.
Okay.
So we gave him copies of the memoranda, and we also gave him.
And he was pleased with this.
Well, we gave it to him, and he then gave us. Did
he have to sign on to this or something?
No, he didn't sign. He gave a picture and.
Oh, yes. He gave it that. He fully endorsed.
Yeah, he fully endorsed.
But how come he was not there last night?
Well, I don't know about the invitations. I don't know.
You don't know that.
Whether. Yeah.
I want you to flip through this book and tell me which one of them excites you the most as a person. If you were an ordinary voter, what in your NDC manifesto, the People's Manifesto, would matter to you most? Which one would excite you the most?
So many. It's difficult.
I want you to choose one for me.
There is a novelty.
Fine, give me five. Give me five
okay,
things.
I'll give you five. Number one, students. That as a tertiary student in a private university, I'm also entitled to the loan.
The Students' Loan
Trust Fund. As a student in a tertiary university, I do not have to wait to be admitted before I can get financial support and assistance. That with the NDC manifesto, as a student, once I get my admission letter, I'm able to access cash to help me to register and get into that university.
Okay.
And after I get my degree, I can wait for 10 years
to pay back
because I may not get a job early.
Okay.
As a woman, I'm happy that an anti-sexual harassment law is going to be passed.
Explain that. What is the content? What does it mean?
What does it mean? There's a lot of sexual harassment in workplaces, and we don't have a law. And because we have a high rate of unemployment, women, particularly women, young women, are vulnerable. And so with an anti-sexual harassment law in place, I, a young woman, know that I'll be protected from sexual harassment within the workplace, and I'll be able to work in a peaceful environment, safe environment.
Okay.
As a woman, I'm happy that I can get 4 months maternity leave. And I also have an option for 2 months to work from home. So in addition to the 4 months, I have an option to work from home.
That's what you have in your manifesto?
That's what we have in the
Is
manifesto.
it going to be law or is it going to be an executive order?
No, we're going to amend the Labour Act.
Okay.
And I'm also happy that a creche and daycare center is going to be set up near my workplace so that I can take my baby to that daycare center and I'm not going to be worried about my baby. I'm also very, very happy that my nieces and nephews can get free technical vocation education and for special needs also. And my nephew, who is a person with disability, who is ready to get into university, will get a scholarship. So all persons with disability and block. Once you're a person with disability and you gain admission into a tertiary institution in Ghana, you will get a scholarship.
Full scholarship?
Full scholarship.
Accommodation and tuition?
Full scholarship because we have the GET Fund there. We want to use the GET Fund for its intended purposes. And we are going to have a better, improved secondary school education. So we are going to abolish the double track, that is gold and green. Look at how congested it is and look at just one. And we are going to come up with one track with several educational several schools, several E. And the thing is that we have done it. We did it with the E-blocks. We did it with a whole SHS program, and we can do it again. That is the beauty of NDC, that we have a proven track record. We look at infrastructure. I'm happy that we have a big push and there's a whole medley of infrastructure projects that is going to propel our economy. I'm also happy for those who want to become lawyers, that we are going to reform, yes, like me, that we're going to reform legal education, that we're going to look at amending the Act on Legal Education, and we're going to vigorously reform and expand access to professional legal education.
How is that going to be practically? What are you saying you want to do?
We are going to review the Legal Profession Act. So it's not just about expansion. If you look at the MPP manifesto, they're talking about expanding infrastructure. No. In reforming and expanding access to legal education, it goes beyond infrastructure. There are fundamental issues with the Legal Profession Act that have to be addressed.
What issues?
We are going to consult with stakeholders to actually review the Legal Profession Act and actually establish there should be a council for legal education. Where we are now with the numbers, we don't even have a campus for law in the northern sector of Ghana. There's no campus beyond Kumasi. There's no campus. But let's look at the map of Ghana and look at the numbers that also come from the northern sector.
So give me the practicality. What are you saying you want to do? You want to build law campuses in Bolga, Wa?
We already have tertiary institutions. We have UDS. So we can, just like what happened at the University of Cape Coast, just like what happened at Kwame Nkrumah University, we now have faculties of law. So government supporting these tertiary institutions, UDS, to now have a faculty of law. So looking at the NDC is very pragmatic. So with the manifesto committee, we looked at the problems and we looked at pragmatic, cost-effective solutions. So for all the proposals you see here, our template was actually to come up with a context, to come up with the issues and challenges, come up with the proposals, come up with an implementation plan, and then come up with a costing budget.
So practically, you're saying that you can be a lawyer sitting in Wa, not necessarily coming to Accra. Is that what you're saying?
We're saying that you can be a tertiary student. So I can attend SHS in Bolga, in Wa, in Bunkrungu Yoyo, and then decide to read law. I shouldn't come all the way down to University of Cape Coast, all the way down south to University of Ghana, all the way center to Kwame Nkrumah University. I should be able to get that course in one of the tertiary institutions in the northern sector of Ghana.
Then,
so that's what we're talking about.
Entry into the law school is perhaps one of the biggest issues too. How do you plan to deal with that?
We are looking at reviewing the profession, the Legal Profession Act, to establish a council, and that council will now accredit certified law faculties to run the professional law course, and it will be subject to the oversight supervision of the council. What we have now is that we have a restricted number. We have a restricted number. I think Gimpa Law School and then they have a campus at Gimpa. So we are going to expand access to legal the professional legal education by reviewing the Legal Profession Act and establishing a council for legal education and training, and then accrediting certified law faculties to now run the professional law course, subject to supervision of the council.
I am a rice farmer at Afife in the Volta region. What is in the People's Manifesto for me?
The People's Manifesto is going to come up with irrigation dams. We have
there are already dams being built by this government.
Those dams are not enough. We are going to expand that. Then also, so we have we are going to transform and modernize agriculture so that we have all year round farming. And we're going to construct irrigation dams, Accra Plains, Ningo Prampram, Dodowa, Ada. We're going to also come back in the Volta region, Amate in Eastern region. Apart from that, we are going to reorient agriculture in Ghana, not only looking at agriculture, but also looking at agribusiness. And with agribusiness, looking at the whole, we want to reposition agriculture and agribusiness as the key driver for Ghana's economic growth and development. For instance, we're looking at cashew. Cashew is big now. So we need to, just like how we have cocoa board, we need to institutionalize, get a cashew nut authority of some sort to actually regulate and look at how we can promote and increase production of cashew. So in this manifesto, we have actually looked at certain key crop commodities. 6.11.1 priority national crop commodities. We're looking at cereal crops, maize, rice, sorghum, millet. We're looking at tomato, pepper, okra. We're looking at tree crops, and we're going to enhance rice production and productivity. And we have a whole section on the cocoa sector.
You're going to legalize Okada.
Yes.
For the riders, it's something to be excited about.
Yeah.
But for the safety people, it's a big problem, considering the recklessness we see on the roads, the resultant accidents that have led to death. You're going to legalize a business that is, or the persons in there engage in recklessness leading to death. How do you argue against people who think that you are actually legalizing death?
Yeah. Let's place it in context. The NDC People's Manifesto, this issue about road safety, about versus Okada and all that, commercial drivers, was a big issue. And we actually got commercial drivers actually presenting to us. I remember one of some of them coming, not only even the trotro, the mates, they all came to present, articulated their issues. So we have a whole section on road safety where we're looking at aggressive public education and what have you, and even establishing accident and trauma centers in communities that have been identified to be accident prone. What are we doing with Okada? We have hundreds of thousands of Okada riders. They use the tricycles, they use the motorcycles. We are going to make it safer. We are going to make it safer for the rider and safer for the pedestrian and the Okada user.
It was your government that made it illegal because of the obvious reasons that have been cited.
Because of the obvious reasons. 4 years along the line, we now even have more. We now have it as part of the fabric of our Ghanaian society in terms of transportation. And there's a need to assess, review, and come up with a solution to address the issue. And the NDC solution to addressing the issue that deals with people employment, the Okada riders have families who feed, the money they get from the transport services, they are providing a service, is an economic venture.
So that's a positive side, but you'll be responsible for every rearview mirror that has been broken by an Okada rider.
Exactly.
You'll be responsible for every red light that has been jumped. Yes. And the resultant accident. You'll be responsible for all the deaths. The bloods of these people will be on your hands.
So let me read what we have said. 8.2.10. We will legalize the use of commercial motorcycles known as Okada and tricycles and regulate the industry to make it safer by training the riders, ensuring they observe necessary safety precautions, and mandating them to provide helmets for their passengers.
Okay.
So that is what we intend to do.
We'll be back. This is Face to Face on Citi TV. We are digesting and dissecting the NDC manifesto, the so-called People's Manifesto. What is in there?
So-called.
So-called
is the People's Manifesto.
So-called is an expression of language, which means that's how you call it. It does not belittle it in any way. We'll be back. Stay with us.
That's kind of cynical. I mean, because I'm not sure that all that we have done have necessarily been to the benefit of middle class or wealthy people. So we will get to that.
Tune in to The Point of View this and every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. as I, Bernard Avle, get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you.
When MDD came, because they were not putting money in the sinking fund.
They were not putting money in the sinking fund?
Yes.
That's why this curve is going up?
The money was going to the sinking fund, but it was not being applied to debt.
I think that there's a lot of apocryphal conspiracy theories around. And it's not different from 5G causes coronavirus, COVID-19 and things like that. So there's been this long-term held belief that somehow there are some people that have planned that they will bus hundreds of thousands of people to come and change Ghanaian electoral outcome. There is no evidence for it. There is absolutely no evidence for it.
I am saying that we have very professional herbalists in this country whose capacity I know because I've tried it. But also there are quack ones within them. And the earlier we weed them out, the better for them.
Remember, The Point of View is live every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. only on Citi TV.
The Point of View is powered by Airtel Tigo. Have you heard that Airtel Tigo calls from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. and Airtel Tigo money transfers are now free on new SIMs? Now you know. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. And Lydia Contraceptive. With Lydia, you truly decide. Citi TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access Citi TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access Citi TV on your television. Citi TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. Citi TV, it's your world.
You're welcome back to Face on Citi TV. My guest is the Secretary to the NDC Manifesto Committee, Nana Oye Bampoe Addo.
Yeah.
Ghanaians rejected you in 2016. Why should they believe that things you could not do just 4 years ago, you can all of a sudden have the magic wand to do all these things you've listed in your manifesto?
Ghanaians did not reject NDC. We had millions of Ghanaians voting for the NDC.
And extra millions voting against you.
More people voting for NDC, for MPP, and so they are in government.
Yeah, so that's
the beauty of it is that Ghanaians have tasted wine. Ghanaians have tasted sweetness, and Ghanaians have now tasted bitterness, and they can tell the difference. And they are calling, wailing. They cannot wait for December 7th to cast their ballot, for NDC to cast their ballot for John Dramani Mahama and Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman. The good thing is that Ghanaians can now make a comparison and they can see the clear differences. They can see who they can repose their confidence and their trust in. They can see the NDC party and government delivering and responding to their needs, they can see that the NDC will not promote family and friends. The NDC will not promote state capture. The NDC will not push corruption under the carpet. The NDC will not enhance ethnicity and actually deny, harass, assault, use state equipment, use state resources, and use state security to physically, in a brazen manner, prevent people from registering to exercise their civic and political right to vote. This is exactly what Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo and the MPP did for people of the Volta region. Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo actually, in the face of human rights, got state security to prevent the others from actually exercising and registering to vote. Ethnic discrimination.
I am a parent.
This is what happened.
My child has enjoyed free senior high school over the past 3 years, something that the other government said was going to happen over a period. Nana Akufo-Addo came, and in 10 months he rolled it out, and he has delivered for my child. I have another child who is going to enter secondary school next year. I trust that if Nana Addo continues to be president, my next child will also enjoy free SHS. Why should I jettison Nana Akufo-Addo and his MPP and bring a party that had said to me that it was not going to be able to do that immediately? What trust do I have that I'm not going to start paying school fees next academic year?
I have a child who is going into SHS in a post-COVID society. I saw and heard how children, how SHS final year students went to school, and some actually contracted COVID. I now have come to the realization that the NDC is more strategic. The NDC is more humanitarian in approach. The NDC places me as a Ghanaian, places my daughter as a Ghanaian in the center of their programs, particularly their educational programs. And so the NDC is strategically thinking of the welfare of my child, is thinking not only of the welfare of my child, but giving my child quality education.
But I'm getting
and making
that.
sure
and
that
free SHS.
No, now there's clutter, it's overcrowded, there's a double track system that is not working.
But it's still a free education.
It's actually not free.
It is not.
It is not.
Are you sure?
Because my child goes to Gold Track, my child goes to Gold Track and comes to sit home, and I have to pay private teachers.
Why do you have to do that? They are on the same number of days.
She's not getting adequate educational, adequate hours of tuition. And so this child of mine, my daughter who is going to school, I am anxious, and she's going to school next year. So I'd rather have NDC in power. I'll vote for NDC because in their manifesto that the NDC launched, they said they will abolish double track, and I like that.
How can they just abolish double track when they don't have their school blocks to absorb double track?
They have articulated their program for abolishing double track.
They have 4 years. They built less than 50 secondary schools.
They built more than that.
No, they built less than 50.
They also refurbished existing schools. They refurbished existing schools. They created IT hubs for SHS students. They have even said that my daughter is going to get a laptop, and my daughter in the tertiary
that project
institution
that they started with RLG, which failed in the Mahama Mills government.
They are going to give my daughter a laptop.
How can we trust you when you failed the last time?
You can trust NDC because we delivered on education. We delivered on infrastructure.
You didn't deliver on the laptops.
We delivered. Laptops were given.
There was a huge scandal around it.
There was not a huge scandal. Laptops were delivered. We also had buses for students, for schools. We also had textbooks for students. we had textbooks, and we also refurbished laboratories and several others. We enhanced learning. We focused on quality. I would want my daughter to get into SHS when NDC is in power, because I know she will get quality education. And I know that the NDC has tied education with jobs, because unlike MPP, NDC has a whole chapter on jobs, ejumapa. And so they are going to ensure that my daughter gets jobs.
The NPP's manifesto of 2016 was titled An Agenda for Jobs.
Well, and what do we have?
They've delivered NAPO.
Well, they have not delivered.
People.
There's a rise in unemployment. Look at the finance and banking sector. What has happened?
The mess,
look
they say
look at the hospitality center. Did we close down Heritage Bank?
They said you were supposed to have dealt with it.
Did we close down the Heritage Bank? We did not. That is the difference and distinction between NDC and MPP. We looked at the problem, we assessed the banking problem, and we solved the problem.
We need to go.
We need to go.
We need to end.
Oh dear.
It's over.
Let me say one thing.
One thing.
Local government.
What do you want to do in local government?
For traditional leaders, we are going to set up a royal institute for chiefs. And they will now receive and also be able to, through that formal institution, impact in governance in Ghana. And assembly members are now going to be paid.
Thank you for speaking to us. That's Secretary to the NDC Manifesto Committee, the People's Manifesto as they called it, Nana Oye Bampoe Addo. She was my guest on Face to Face. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadu. Face to Face returns on Tuesday on Citi TV. Keep watching Citi TV. It's your world.